You are de facto completely out of your mind if you think that declassification is something that is psychically willed by the president. That is just not true. Do you sincerely believe that? Do you really believe that?
Find any lawyer who can tell you what exactly.
How many lawyers? How many military, ex-military? How many? I can bring you 20 of them. If you want me to go through my email, and I will bring you person after person after person. Say, oh, declassification. Here are all of the steps that we take. If you really want to set that stream, I would love to do it. You're going to tell me. No. Even the president, when you go to declassify material, there's a whole process for declassification. Why do you think FOIA requests take so long? There's a whole process for how that works. You're telling me that the normal process for declassification is the president points at something and it becomes declassified?
I'm surprised you haven't had me on here like 47,000 times by now, because you and I are like the perfect yin and yang, I think.
Are we?
In the sense that I feel like we both try to actually figure things out in good faith, and we often come to opposite conclusions. But it's like, yeah. Anyway, I've watched a lot of your work, and I'm like, yeah, you come so close and you fall so far. So.
All right. Well, before we start, do you wanna chat? Or I'm sorry, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Joe Neerman. I'm a new attorney. I have a YouTube channel called Good Lawgic, also a Rumble channel called Good Lawgic. Follow me on Twitter at The Following Pro. That's the name of my show that I host during the week on my YouTube and Rumble channels called The Following Program. And I live stream 2 hours a night from like 10 to midnight Eastern, and later hours on the weekends. So I tend to cover law and politics, the intersection of that. And I really like focusing on the philosophy as to like what motivates individuals in society to act the way they do and find their own morality. So there you go. That's a good synopsis to me.
Okay. Well, do you have a topic that we're starting with, or did the person who messaged you? Yeah. I
was told that you wanted to discuss the DC indictment of Trump.
Yeah, I think like broadly speaking, it was over whether or not, I guess an insurrection or attempted insurrection happened. That was the first thing. And then, yeah, any of the particular indictments, I guess, if you want to discuss those as well. But before we get into that, actually, wait, I'm curious. What have you heard me discuss before where you think I was so off or so wrong, or so close yet so far? I'm curious.
Pretty much pick a topic. My values end up falling very much along the lines of America First.
Very much along the lines of what?
Of an American First type of value.
Okay.
Without and I know to a lot of people on the left that has a certain racist overtone to it, but I actually detest racism in any form or any sort of bigotry against people based on who they are or what they or even how they manifest themselves. If it's not like inherently who they are.
Okay.
So, but I am very. So, for example, I'm a supporter of Donald Trump, but I'm able to recognize that the dude is really flawed individual. I just think his policies that he affected exceptional. I mean, it's just he happened to be phenomenal. A good person doesn't always make a great president, and a terrible person can sometimes be a really good president. So.
Okay,
that's my perspective. So I don't really fit into any sort of neat box in that sort of sense. And but I do think that, like for example, I think Trump did a great job as president. That does not necessarily mean he would be a great president in 2024, because he is 4 years older. His age certainly has to be considered. And at the same time, I sort of feel as if the left almost pigeonholed us. Where I think that if you fail to support Trump, you are signing off on abandoning foundational perspectives as to how we approach politics in a way that is so destructive for the long-term America that it's horrifying.
Okay.
Meaning all these indictments, all these different, ways that they are not prosecuting him. It's definitely, it has to be, it can only properly be labeled a persecution. I can get into that with you if you like. That all these different persecutions, if either side is ever able to see that strategy is successful, that is how you lead toward having a declining republic where you cannot have a healthy functioning government. You can't have a healthy functioning country because invariably the other side is just going to take its cue that, hey, this works. So I think that this tactic has to be shown to be an utter failure. And that's why I almost feel like they've forced my hand into supporting him for 24.
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So before we get into this, I just want to see if we agree on a few ground rules, or on
Sure.
a few fundamental things. The first question is, do we think that above all else, we should do our best to adhere to the Constitution, right? Adherence to the Constitution, general principle of rule of law, it's one of the most important things that defines the guardrails of this country. Do we agree with that?
Absolutely, without any equivocation.
Okay. Number
Yes,
two is,
100%.
do we think that there are any U.S. citizens that should be, generally speaking, above the law? Obviously, there are going to be things like qualified immunity or, in certain cases that change things a little bit. But broadly speaking, more specifically, I'm asking, do you think the president of the United States should be above the law? Or should he be subject to roughly the same laws and everything that the rest of the United States is subject to?
I'm going to assume unintentionally a loaded question, because the standards and yardstick with which we've held presidents to throughout our nation's history have never been the same as anyone else.
Okay.
Now, is that the way it should be morally? I don't know, but that's not any individual's call to make as to what's proper here.
Sure. Let's say the president gets into a disagreement with somebody in his bedroom. He takes out a gun and he shoots and he kills them. Should the president be prosecuted for murder or charged with murder? Right. Okay.
Definitely.
So
definitely. Are we talking in office or post office?
Either one.
After they leave office.
Either one. However, obviously, I'm going to carve out exceptions that, if it was the case that the president, through some sheer stupid, force of luck, had an expired parking ticket that somehow became a felony because it was not paid for a long time. Probably not a good idea to prosecute a sitting president for an expired parking ticket that magically I'm not. I'm going to say there's going to be reasonable guardrails here, right? Yeah.
You're saying something that doesn't. You're saying something that's more administrative and less a matter of him committing some sort of inherent wrong, like murdering another person.
Yeah, something obviously clearly wrong. Yeah,
physical harm. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you're saying that if some other innocuous thing would somehow morph into something that is by law defined as being terrible, that's not what you're talking about. But you're saying, well, if he does something that's any child would look at it and say that's the wrong thing to do. It could be treason, could be murder, could be rape, it could be, but something that is a violation of man against man. And I'm obviously not being gender specific.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, to be clear, I'm not trying to trap you, but I know that one of, I think, Trump's legal defenses is that any crime that he commits that would be within the purview of the powers of the president or something, he should be immune from. Or I don't even want to make it specifically about Trump, but I'm just saying we agree that even the president of the United States has to abide by some rules or laws. If it was the case, for instance, that Joe Biden... I'm sorry, hold on. I want to get into I'm just saying that, just broadly speaking. I'm sorry, I won't get into the specifics of that yet. We'll probably get to that. But if Joe Biden was traveling with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden was saying as vice president or as president, I'm going to change some U.S. policy to benefit my son. I don't even know if that's technically illegal, but we would say that's clearly wrong. He should be held accountable in some way. The president cannot just do whatever he wants, right? We just broadly speaking, we agree with that, right?
Oh, I agree that he certainly cannot do whatever he wants, even as president. I mean, that's why we started with the first thing we started with was he has to work within the boundaries of the Constitution. The Constitution trumps the president.
Okay.
So we're on the same page. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. The third point is are we able to speak about the findings of committees or the media or evidence provided by testimony in Congress? If we can point to third party things verifying or pointing to things, are we able to have a conversation about this kind of evidence? Or do you disbelieve large chunks of it, trying to figure it out?
Are you specific? I mean, it seems as if you're working way towards the January 6th committee.
Or anything. Let's say the media
Exactly.
provides a report or Dominion makes a statement or whatever. As long as we can point to other third-party people, like we can evaluate it, right? I'm not trying to say that, for instance, like you have to believe every single thing on the Washington Post, or you even have to believe everything in the January 6th commission, or I'm sorry, the select committee or whatever. I'm just trying to see if you're at the point where you would say something like, oh, well, I actually think all that testimony is fake and all of this is like not true, or like where we're at for that. Yeah.
I think irrespective of whether you're talking about something from the left or the right, there is the great stench of politics, which is designed to cloud truth. Meaning that I think that it doesn't. You can show me some report from the left. You can show me some report from the right, or what people refer to as being the left, or people refer to as being the right, which I think in many instances is more of a mirage than actually being a genuine conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, I think that the line between Lindsey Graham and Chuck Schumer is very, very thin. Even though they're portrayed to us as being polar opposites, I think it's a very, very thin line.
Okay.
That if they switch states, if they were born in opposite states, they would steal each other's speeches. I don't think that either side really believes what they're saying, and I don't think either side cares about you or me.
Okay.
So when you talk about a report that comes out, and the reason I'm mentioning this in the context of what you're bringing up is because when you talk about a report that comes out, we need to recognize that both sides are going to play politics. Both sides are going to try and portray this as some sort of win, when really a lot of their objectives are less about the political, less about the ideology that's being professed, and more about a personal agenda towards self-enrichment and self-empowerment.
Okay. Okay, I think that's broadly, I just think these three things are broadly what I'd like to set. Are there any like foundational questions that you want to make sure we're on like the same page before we jump into this, or you don't need
I understand you're having a debate with Alex Jones. Is that accurate?
I think so, yeah. In 6 days, yeah.
So is this designed to help you cut? Am I supposed to be the stone on which I'm helping you hew and you blade?
No, actually, I've been trying to choose, because the non-lawyer people that I've talked to so far are pretty bad on all of these topics. So I'm trying to see if the lawyer people are a little bit better. So yeah, I just like generally before I have debates, I'll like talk to other people and just see. Yeah, you're not like you don't have to do anything particular. I'm just curious what your beliefs are on this, because apparently we disagree on things. Okay.
No.
So for the okay, I guess we can center some of this around like indictments, I guess. For the set of indictments in I think it's the federal case based on the Mar-a-Lago classified documents.
In Florida, the one in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that... yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I was going to just overview that. So that's centered on allegations that he took documents that he was not legally allowed to take with him. The classification of those documents is in some sort of dispute. The issues, I will tell you that politically, I think that that's probably, from the criminal cases, his safest case in a number of ways, because as a litigator, I can tell you that your jury pool is everything. I mean, it's really everything, because you're walking into a trial, and I have enough cynicism about a jury to know that, especially when you're talking about a polarizing political figure such as Donald Trump, which there probably is no more polarizing individual on the planet, that before the trial starts, the jury knows whether they're going to convict him or acquit him. And I think that in Florida, it's almost impossible for Jack Smith or anyone to find a jury that's going to convict him.
Sure, maybe. I'm not even concerned about like how will this work in trial. I'm just curious about your opinions about the case itself. I guess the first question I would ask is, given the indictment as is, assuming the information contained in it is true or the prosecution believes it, do you think that, I guess like prima facie, is there a case here? Do you think that Trump has done something illegal?
Do I think he's done something illegal? I think that it's hard to understand how he could have done something in that particular case.
Okay, so you don't believe in the indictment. You don't think that him knowingly removing and then knowledgeably improperly storing classified material outside of a SCIF or a classified containment area or whatever, you don't think that that's breaking the law, or you don't think he's done that?
So I think it's possible. It's possible that in a technical sense, that someone could semantically portray it as breaking the law. I think it's it's not too difficult to defend that it's not at all breaking the law, and that as president, he's the chief of the executive branch, and he had the unilateral authority up and until Joe Biden swore his oath on January 20th, 2021, that he had unilateral authority, if he wanted to, with virtually any document passing through Washington, with a few exceptions, which we have no reason to assume that those exceptions apply in this case, that he literally had the authority to take any classified document he wants and start handing it around in Central Park. And that action seems like it would be a declassification. Meaning, if he gave it to someone, if you were to take a document that's classified and possess it, that's a crime. That's one of the crimes I believe that he's been charged with multiple times here. Possessing documents he's not allowed to possess. So if he handed it to you on January 20th, you would not be in violation of crime, even if you held on to it on January 21st, all the way up until today. So when he takes documents and publicly loads them into an airplane, cargo plane, and takes boxes and boxes of documents and ships them out to Mar-a-Lago, well, in that case, it's a fair legal argument to make that is an act of declassifying it, much as if he walked in Central Park and handed you personally those boxes. But instead of handing them to you, he's handing them to himself or to his staff that's overseeing them, who are not necessarily classified to watch them. So I think that there's a fair legal argument that can be made on his behalf, which is that the act of taking them to Mar-a-Lago, the act of putting them in places that are not deemed secure, is inherently an act of declassification, and there is no further obligation for him to actually legally go through a thing where he stamps every page or even signs his initials every box and says declassified. That there's concept of verbal act, that the act itself serves as words. And I think that it's not too far a stretch to say that is a fair interpretation as to what happens whenever a president does something like that. And so in that sense, from a legal perspective, I think he's probably in pretty good area. From a moral perspective, part of the reason I think that this is so persecutive is that what he did is literally no different from what any other former president has done. Like this is standard fare as to what presidents do. The only difference is how Nara reacted to it. But as did he do something wrong? I guess perhaps if you're going to say that there's no legal right to do that, then every president we've had in the last 10 presidents has pretty much done the same thing. So the fact that they're trying to nail his hide to a wall for it, you have to say to yourself, what the hell's going on here? Like, why is he the one who they're going after so hard? So, and in fact, it's not just presidents. We see vice presidents. We saw Biden that when he left, he did this. We saw Pence took documents and stuff like that. I mean, it seems as if that the rules as far as safeguarding documents for a lot of these high-level politicians, they seem to play fast and loose with it fairly frequently. So this, to me, almost falls under the qualification of those administrative illegalities that you were referencing earlier. You see what I'm saying when you were talking about the parking ticket becoming a felony?
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Yeah, but I completely and totally disagree. I don't think it's analogous at all.
Why? Why do you disagree?
I think almost every single thing you've said here is, I don't even think you fully believe it. So we're going to dive into this. I'm so curious. Okay.
Do it.
We can hit either end of these. So here's the first thing that I want to stress here, okay, for this particular thing, okay? Okay, you know more lawyer shit than I do, okay? For some crimes, all right, some crimes are like strict liability crimes, right? For instance, like like having sex with a minor. That's whether you knew it or not, doesn't matter. You're 100% guilty if you do it, right? It's a strict liability crime, right? There are other crimes that require intentionality.
Intent.
Yeah.
Right.
When we talk about the U.S. code that Trump is being charged under, and my understanding is this is true for all mishandling of classified material, you might get fired from a job, but mishandling classified material only becomes a crime. It only rises to a criminal matter when there is intent from the person to knowingly store it, transmit it, take it in an improper way. So the number two, I've got 2 points in here. The first one, or the second point that you brought up, that every other president did this. I'm not aware of any other president that intentionally took classified material. Once the documents were requested back, they didn't return them or instructed other people around them to lie about having the material. And furthermore, the comparison to Biden and Pence, when classified material was found in their houses, I believe it was their lawyers and then them that turned it over willingly. They didn't make an attempt to hide or obscure it. I don't believe the intentionality aspect is there with Biden or Pence. I think that prima facie, if you read the indictments for the Trump Florida case, then the intentional element is obviously met. Trump is literally saying this is classified material. So I would say that's the second point that you brought up, that every other president does this. I think that is on its face wrong, unless there are cases that I'm not familiar with. And then for the first point,
they had to create a brand new library for Obama because of what he did.
Well, because he took a lot of documents with him, but when they were requested, he complied fully. The National Archives drove trucks over.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. They changed the rules so that they literally changed the rules after he left office so that they didn't have to get into a fight with him about it.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Wait. Okay.
He took so many.
This is a no. Hold on. You don't stop. When you say he took, it doesn't matter, right? We're talking about the law right now, right? Legally, he needs to take with the intention of knowingly taking classified material and an attempt to transmit it, store it, do something else in an area that he knows it's not supposed to be stored. So was that ever the case with Obama? Did anybody assert that? Did he lie about any of it? Did he not cooperate with investigators when they were coming to retrieve it? Is that true? Any part of that?
You have to start by asking the authority of the people who are asking for it. Meaning you have to basically fixate and ask yourself. Obviously, if you ask for those documents back, then that's not it. But when you're talking about like a crime that he committed here, I want to ask you this. Just let's think this through intellectually for a second. Mm-hmm. Is it the physical papers that he has? What do you think? Do you think it's a? Let's start with this. Do you think it's a technical crime, or it's like genuinely immoral, treasonous, harmful to the United States? Which of these two do you think it is?
The latter, for sure.
So you think it's immoral?
Absolutely. I don't think that accidentally taking classified material. I think that you could argue about that. Knowingly and intentionally taking classified material and storing it in areas where it's not supposed to be, I would say this is immoral. Assuming classification exists for a good reason, and we believe that stuff should be classified, I would say it's an immoral thing to do, of course.
But you recognize that he had the right to declassify every one of these documents, right?
That's part of the first argument we made. I don't think even you believe in that branch of the argument, but we can go down that. But I'm focusing on the second part.
That's I didn't make that up. That's literally the law.
No, it's in the way. No.
With the exception of certain documents created by Congress, there's which are
even
really,
if what you're saying is true.
All documents in Washington are like 1 in 10,000 documents.
Okay, so
sure.
Real quick. Before we get to
the
sure. Before we return to the first part of the argument, I just want you to acknowledge no president has done what I'm aware of as Donald Trump is being accused of in the indictments. Okay, maybe they don't win this case, or maybe the evidence isn't strong enough. But in the indictments, what Donald Trump is accused of intentionally concealing and storing classified information in a place that he's not allowed to, Biden and Pence haven't even been accused of this. There's not even a charge where anybody's saying they've done this. And Obama was never accused of this. Yes,
you're correct. There's obviously these charges against Trump are unique. That I agree with you if the charges are unique. So
wait, what do you mean when you say the charges are unique?
I mean the fact that he's being accused of this is a first. You're saying there's no one's ever been accused, and I agree with you. No one ever has been accused.
No. I'm not saying no one's ever been accused. I'm saying that there's no evidence. Nobody's even said that Biden and Pence did this. That they intentionally and knowingly took classified material and stored it in a place where it's not supposed to be stored.
So what is the moment of him committing the crime? Is it when he took the documents, or is it when
we'll get
he was
there. We'll
asked
get
about
there.
the documents?
We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm just trying to.
But that's the key. That's the key.
No, that's not the key. No.
No.
That's not the key. I'm just trying to point out that no other ex-president or whatever, I don't believe, has ever done this before.
Done what before? Taken every president. We know you're agreeing that every president has taken documents, right?
Yeah, probably.
And
I think that's standard practice. Yes. Once they move out of the White House, sometimes they take classified shit. Yeah.
And it's fairly safe to say that after they leave with documents, it's not at all uncommon for there to be dispute between NARA and the president as to what documents are going to be returned.
Yep.
This is something that happens all the time, right? I mean, that comes up all the time.
I agree.
So my question is, at what point is he doing something that you're saying is immoral, and what is the immorality?
What do you mean at what point? It's at the point when he's committing the crime. What is the crime?
Well, what is the crime? Is it taking the documents, or is it putting it in a storage area that's not secure, or
no, wait.
That when he's asked later on, he says, "F you, I'm not giving them."
No, hold on. It's very clearly stated. There's like 4 or 5 different, like USC, whatever the fuck, 1924. Like we can very clearly just read the law. It's the intent part.
Right.
When he goes from accidentally to intentionally storing something, that's when it becomes a crime at that instant.
Okay, but the question that brings us back to the question as to whether or not it inherently becomes declassified the moment that he takes
and we can talk about that. I understand.
Place.
Hold on, wait. Before we get there, we can talk about that. I just want to focus on the point 2. Before we go to that, I just want to focus on point 2. Obama, Biden, Pence, Trump, not Trump, Bush, nobody else has been accused of doing what Trump has been accused of doing. There's a difference between taking classified material and returning it versus knowingly and intentionally taking it and not returning it. These are 2 different things. None of the other presidents or vice presidents or whatever that I'm aware of.
You mentioned, when you say 2 different things, you just mentioned 2 key things. One is the taking, and the other is refusing to return. And those are very different things.
Yes, because the first thing...
So the taking, and you agree with me, that the taking that happens all the time, it's the
That's not a crime,
to return it upon demand.
Yeah, because the refusal to return it shows that you're breaking the crime because you know, and you're intentionally storing it in an area that it's not supposed to be stored, which is a violation of the law. That's breaking the law.
Okay, but that's my question to you. What is making that illegal? So once someone from NARA, think about this for a second. What are you saying, Stephen? Think about this. What you're saying is, so a document that he took with him, let's say document X, on January 19th, 2021. He loads that up into it's labeled a classified document. He loads it up, takes it down to Mar-a-Lago, and sticks it in his desk in Mar-a-Lago, completely unsecured.
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. At that moment, has he committed a crime?
Not if he doesn't know that it's classified.
What? But let's say he knows it's classified, and he says, if he handed you that document, would he be committing a crime? If he handed that document to Putin, is he committing a crime? The answer is no.
Hold on, wait, we don't know. Wait, that's you're.
If he hands it to anyone, it's not
you're sliding.
Secret. And by the way,
you're sliding.
It literally be a document which is a knock list of every CIA agent, which would be the most immoral thing as far as.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Okay. Let's engage the lawyer brain. Okay, we're on one point right now, and then we'll go to the first one later. Okay, on the second point. Okay, the accusation is different. Knowingly and intentionally doing an action is not the same as accidentally doing the action. In matters of criminal law here, that is paramount. It is the defining factor of what makes this a crime. Okay, so when you said before, you brought it up, you said everybody does this, Biden, Pence, Obama, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. Nobody's made that accusation. There's no indictments. There was no evidence that they did this. Nobody believes that. So I just want to, you don't even have to agree. Wait, you don't even, wait, quick, I'm sorry, hold on. Wait, you don't, admitting this part doesn't mean that you're saying Trump did anything bad. Okay, you can admit this part and then we can move on to the other part, but you can't say that they did the same thing. That's just factually not true. I have to make sure we live in the same universe. That's not true.
I want to live in this.
Okay.
Stephen, I want to live in the same universe.
Okay, so then is there any evidence that Biden or Pence, you brought those 2 up, or even Obama, were intentionally taking classified material and then storing those in areas that they knew were not...
Stop. Let's do step by step. Any evidence that he was intentionally taking documents? Yes. That we are on the same page.
No, that's not the question.
Right? No, but the next part is then storing it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the storing in a place that's non-secure.
Correct.
Is there any evidence? Now your question, right? Is it fair to? I want to break it down because there's a series of acts here, and we have to pinpoint where it is that he's doing that.
We've already pinpointed it. I don't know why we have to keep dancing around this.
Well, what I'm asking you is, you have to. We haven't pinpointed because you throw together 4 actions as one, and you basically say that is immoral. And I'm asking you, at what point is he doing something immoral?
Okay,
is it when he secures it?
If you want to write it down, you can write this down. I'll repeat the exact same thing I said before. It's as soon as you have the intention of storing something or taking something that is classified, now you've broken the law. It's with the intention. There could be different ways to establish that intention. For instance, maybe the FBI calls you and says, hey, we need that back. In that case, and you're like, no, well, now the intention has happened after you've taken it and stored it. Maybe it's when you're in a SCIF, maybe you see a document that says, TS, top secret, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you pocket that and you run out knowing you're not supposed to have it. In that case, right when you take it, you're intentionally breaking the law. When that intention is established depends on a whole host of things, but it becomes a crime once you've established that the person intended to keep something outside of a classified area that belongs in a classified area. Do we agree with that? Wait, do we agree with that? Do we agree with that?
Absolutely not. And the reason you're mistaken about that is...
Oh, no, wait. Hold on. We need to go and look up the legal code for these crimes then. We need to read them because one of us right now is disagreeing with the law, okay? Because this is just the law as written, okay? I don't know if there are other... Okay, I have can you see the chat room or can you Google, I don't know if this is the exact one. I know there are a few of these on classified documents. One is 18 U.S. Code, Section 1924, unauthorized removal and retention of classified documents or material. I know there are a couple of these codes. Oh, wait, hold on. This is the Espionage Act statute. Pisco, is this a different one?
I'm on the same page as you on this.
Oh, okay.
I'm not arguing. I want to be clear. Okay. That this is one of the ways. Let's forget about it happening in 2020. Okay. Let's say this happened in 2013 or in 2018. Forget about it being that he's no longer president, is president. Imagine a president, and imagine Joe Biden did it last week. Took a document that is a classified document and then went off and started reading it in the bathroom of a Hyatt, okay? Completely unsecured, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to leave these papers here. Do you genuinely believe that he has committed a crime by that action? He's like, yeah, I know this is really top secret stuff, and I'm leaving it here intentionally. Do you believe that President Biden committed a crime when he did that? Because I will respectfully tell you that it is crazy to think that he has committed a crime.
Why? That would, of course, be a crime, yes.
Whereas any other person, you, me, or anyone else who might have had access to have that record and had permission to have that record for you or I to do it, it certainly would be a crime and we should be prosecuted. And the difference is that is the unique distinction of the chief executive. That's where we're coming into this key thing that you and I are having this disconnect. That the chief executive literally has a power to declassify by blinking his eyes.
Okay, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm just gonna say you've conceded on point 2 on everything because you keep moving to point 1. So let's move to point 1. So on point 2, what Trump is being accused of doing here is unique compared to Biden or Pence or any other past person that you brought up. I'm going to assume that you're just conceding that completely because you're not differentiating this at all. So we can move to point number 1 now. So you said as president, he's the chief of the executive branch and he can declassify things whenever he wants at the blink of an eye, okay? I don't even think that you believe that, but let's say that we both believe that, okay? I would argue that if that's true,
Obama wrote that.
That's
Obama
fine.
Created that executive order.
Sure, that's fine. Let's say that is the case, okay? The reason why this argument is ridiculous is because if that is the case, isn't this argument instantaneously self-defeating? Because if you're saying that Trump can declassify things psychologically, okay, he can psychically declassify a document, couldn't Biden have reclassified them without saying anything as soon as he left office? And as soon as declassification is much easier than reclassification. It's much legally under the law. If you read the statutes as to how something gets classified versus getting declassified, and there's good logic for this. There's good sense as to why that would be, that it's much easier to declassify something than it is to reclassify it. Because when you reclassify something, which he does have the power, Biden does, as president, has the power to classify whatever the hell he wants, but
when he reclassifies it, that now those documents take on a magic status now, where anyone who's doing something failing to uphold the high classification status is now committing a crime. So he cannot. So a president cannot just blink his eyes and make something classified because he has to pass that knowledge down through the chains of command so that anyone who might be affected by that classification and put under a new obligation has to be aware of that obligation, so they know, oh my God, I can't leave this around. I'll be thrown in jail if I leave this around because this became classified 10 minutes ago when Biden issued this new order. But if he declassifies it and it ends up being stored too securely, because it doesn't need to be stored securely anymore because it's not actually classified. There are probably millions of documents that have been declassified that people still think are classified. They just weren't informed. There's no risk associated with that. And that's why the process for declassification is much easier than it is for reclass.
So you don't think, so a president can't point at something and say that's now classified?
Correct. He cannot. You can't.
Doesn't classification exist at the, hold on, you have to let me ask questions, okay? Does classification not exist literally at the privilege of the president?
It does.
So you're telling me that the president of the United States, the chief of the executive branch, hold on, wait. I want you to answer this very clearly, and then I need you to point me to something that says this, okay? The president can't point at something and go, that's now top secret classification. You're saying the president of the United States can't do that?
No, of course he can't. You don't think that he can. Do you think that he can make the deed on your house classified? If he was so inclined? You think he can make your tax records classified? You think that he can make the starting lineup for today's football game classified?
Are you saying that No. Are you saying that if the president tried to classify it, somebody would say no, who tells the president you're not allowed to classify that?
What I'm saying is, first of all,
answer the question. Who tells the president, no, you're not allowed to classify that?
It's not, you don't have to tell him, it's just ineffective, and that's someone who fails to obey the classification status.
No one is talking about what it's effective. No one is talking about if it's effective or not. I'm asking you, with the president, let's say the president says Stephen Bunnell's title for his house, that's classified information now. Who says, sorry, president, you can't classify that information?
What are the ramifications of him saying it?
I'm not asking about the ramifications. You don't care because you're saying the president can psychologically declassify whatever he wants. So you don't care about the ramifications. We're way past that. I'm just asking you, who tells the president no? I'm asking you, who tells the president no, Mr. President, you can't classify the deed to Stephen Bunnell's house? Who says that?
Stephen, the ramifications are all that matters in a classification or a declassification. If there are no ramifications, then no one cares whether something is classified or declassified. The only thing that matters are the ramifications.
We're talking about the process here. The process of classifying or declassifying. I'm asking you, again, for the fifth time, who tells the president, no, you cannot classify something?
Any court that fails to uphold his classification is telling him that.
Oh, so then if Trump loses in court, are you going to admit then that he was wrong? If we're just going by what the court determines?
No. What I said, when you're asking me who's telling him that it fails to classify, and what I'll tell you is the only way how does anyone know if the classification actually worked or didn't work? The only way we would know if it worked or didn't work is if he tries to punish someone for failing to honor the classification, and then a court says, this president properly classified it, and you failed to honor it. That's at that point we would know the classification actually took hold and actually worked. Otherwise it's just words. Otherwise the word classified or declassified is literally just words. It's only when it has the force of law behind it that it actually has any sort of meaning. So you're saying to me, who tells the president that he didn't declassify? I mean, it's not a matter that there's some sergeant at arms or some big hulking guy with huge guns, which is basically sitting there flexing his muscles saying, sorry, Joe, that one didn't work. No, it's a matter as to whether or not a person is obligated under the law to respect that classification. So if he went out there and he said, like I said, imagine he said that last year's Super Bowl winner is classified information. Like, how silly is that? How silly is that? So now you can't talk about who
You
last
can't.
is
I'm sorry, but like you forfeited the
I'm
ground
sorry.
of using how silly is that as an argument when you say that a president that's on record saying this is classified, I could have declassified it, but I didn't, somehow can psychically declassify every single thing he happens to steal from the White House with him. Which, by the way, the president doesn't have the exclusive authority to declassify any documents that he wants, and I'm pretty sure he even had documents, I believe, from the Department of Energy that he cannot unilaterally declassify, even if he went through the normal channels of doing it.
That's the 1 in 10,000 is things from the Department of Energy.
Well, he had it, unfortunately. But regardless, you can't use the... No, okay, hold on, stop. Okay, hold on, I'm sorry. This rambling is so silly. I can't believe these arguments. I can't believe you're making these sincerely. First of all, original classification authority literally rests with the President of the United States, okay? The President,
Yes.
the Vice President,
Yes.
the Secretary of Defense, anybody who's, I think, a Secretary of Military Department, DOD? I think that's separate. These people, this is where classification comes from. My understanding is the president wants to classify anything. He can classify whatever the he wants. He's the president of the United States, and classification exists under the authority of the president. Number one. Now, number two, when you say, well, effectively, how would that work? Well, that's a good question. There's probably an actual process to classify material. I'm sure that there are departments that go over how damaging could it be, blah, 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 blah. There is a whole process.
Yes.
There is a process to declassify material where you submit something. Really?
Yes, that's the big difference.
Okay, hold on.
That's
I'm so
exactly
sorry. Hold on.
the
No. I'm sorry. You are de facto fucking completely out of your fucking mind if you think that declassification is something that is psychically willed by the president. That is just not true. Do you sincerely believe that? Do you really believe that?
Find any lawyer who can tell you what exactly.
How many lawyers? How many military, ex-military? How many? I can bring you 20 of them. If you want me to go through my email, and I will bring you person after person after person. Say, oh, declassification. Here are all of the steps that we take. If you really want to set that stream, I would love to do it. You're going to tell me? No. Even the president. When you go to declassify material, there's a whole process for declassification. Why do you think FOIA requests take so long? There's a whole process for how that works. You're telling me that the normal process for declassification is the president points at something and it becomes declassified?
And for no other human is that true.
For what?
That's true for only the president of the United States and for no other human. Maybe the vice president because of the EO that was signed by Obama, which was kind of a crazy EO. But one of the EOs he signed, I think it was EO, I'm off the top of my head, I haven't looked at this EO in the 9 months since when this thing first was filed, but I think it was EO 19309. But you can just look up Obama classification EO and you'll find it in 20 seconds. Where he spells out exactly how it works with respect to who has authority to classify or declassify. And if you're someone who works under the president, in that case, when you're classifying something, there's all sorts of steps and procedures. And even when the president is classifying something, there's all sorts of steps and procedures. If someone working under the president declassifies something, that has all sorts of steps and procedures. That is definitely true. I agree with you. But there is nobody who actually, because this is not something that has come up or has been decided really by a court of law, which has had to analyze as to what does a president need to do to declassify something. And I'll tell you, this is what I'll tell you one thing, Stephen. I don't make up arguments to the point of winning. I don't like winning arguments for the sake of winning arguments. I never argue disingenuously. If I'm telling you something, it's because I believe it in my heart of hearts. And if I'm not sure, I will say, on this thing, I'm not sure. And I do that frequently. So I appreciate if several times you've accused me of putting forward some argument that you think I don't believe.
You don't, because you don't believe that. This is so on its face ridiculous that you think the president of the United States can walk out of the White House after his term is up with a box of who knows what, and everything in there that he doesn't even know about becomes magically declassified. That is one of the most on its face absurd statements I have ever heard in my life. Nobody could genuinely believe something that silly.
Why? Well, hold on a second. So I'll ask you this. First of all, he has to do it while he's still president.
Which he didn't.
Do it after. No, well, if he did it the day before, if he did it 10 seconds before Biden's sworn in, he's still president.
Yeah, but he didn't do that, did he?
Yeah, it was not. Yes, he did. Nothing was shipped out afterwards.
Wait, hold on. If he did do that, then when the FBI requested the documents, why didn't he just say, "Oh, I've declassified all these"? Why did he have his lawyer hide them around his house?
Here's the key. I'll tell you what happened.
Answer that. No, I need you to answer that question.
I am answering that. Because they said you don't care.
I need you to answer that question. Like very specifically. Okay, let's see. All right.
I'm answering.
Okay.
I'm answering because this is the area that they actually could get him on this case. the one area that they can get him on this case is that they asked him for documents that are marked classified, whether or not they are still classified. Meaning, even if you declassify them, if it's got that stamp of signature on it that says classified, these are the documents that we are demanding you give to us. That is the area that Trump has his biggest exposure of liability. Because it does seem, based on the facts that were presented.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I don't care about any of this. This can be your next point. I'm going to re-ask my question because you're not answering it. When they asked Donald Trump, hey, give us this classified material back, why didn't he say, hey guys, I declassified everything as I left the White House, we're good? Why didn't he just say that?
I don't know. Why would he have to say that?
To let them know that he doesn't have classified material? To say that he was the president? Don't you think it's kind of weird that instead of saying that, he said, oh, sure, and then told people in Mar-a-Lago to hide the boxes? You don't think that shows a criminal state of mind? Like maybe he's not supposed to, if he's supposed to have it, and he believes that he was supposed to have it, why would he hide the material around Mar-a-Lago?
You think he was hiding it in the bathroom? That's what he was doing there?
I'm sorry, what isn't part of the indictment that he ordered people working for him to lie to the FBI and move the documents around?
Do you know what an indictment is? An indictment is a list of charges from one side.
No, stop. I asked you prima facie if a crime had been broken, if the indictment is true. If you want to argue that what's in the indictment is false, then we're in a totally different world. I'm asking you prima facie if what's in the indictment is true, is a law been broken? Is there a criminal activity? So if you want to argue with the facts of the indictment, that's fair because like we both agree, it's just an indictment. They have to prove it in court. Maybe they can't. Mm-hmm. So assuming what's written in the document, if he was telling people to hide documents around the house, he didn't tell the FBI, oh, I declassified all of these. He never said that ever.
Well, even if he did say he declassified them, if he had said, look, there's two possibilities here. Either my theory about there being an automatic declassification is legally correct, or it's not legally correct, right? I mean, that's pretty much what it boils down to. Now, did he actually say these are declassified? I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he did not. Did he go through the normal procedures for declassification? It seems from everything we've seen so far, he likely did not go through the standard operating procedures for how things had been declassified in the past, either by him or by other agencies. So it definitely seems that way. Does that mean that as a matter of law, they're still deemed classified? No, because my theory could be correct. But you want to know something? I don't know if my theory is correct, and nobody knows my theory is incorrect because this has never been tested in any court. Nobody knows the answer to this question. The only one who can answer this question is a competent court which actually examines the Presidential Records Act and analyzes the EO that Obama signed off on. There's like 6 different statutes.
Okay,
that come into
curious.
Play
okay,
here.
So I'm just curious, real quick. Okay, because you keep citing. So also, you've never answered my question, because there is no answer. Because it's obvious. The question was, why didn't Trump just say, "Hey guys, these were all declassified already. I was the president."
Because if you talk to the cops about anything, you're an idiot.
First of all, hold on. First of all. What do you mean? Why did it? Because first of all, what you just said is not true. Okay, if you tell the cops anything, you're an idiot. That's not a. What do you?
You're not. I'm telling you now. I'm telling your listeners now. If you ever get pulled over by the police and they ask you questions, you give them your license or registration. You be as polite as possible, and you do not sit there giving.
That's what you do. Okay, cool, okay, gotcha. So cool. Okay, thank you. That's very smart. Okay, so a cop pulls me over. He's got probable cause to search my car, or he wants to breathalyze me, and I go, "No, cop, you don't get to do that." Yeah, that's what you'd recommend. Refuse a breathalyzer. Okay, so that's dumb. So we agree with that. Number one. Number two. FBI shows up at my house with a subpoena. They say, "Hey, we've got a subpoena signed by a judge. We're gonna go and investigate your shit." Can I sit there at the door and say, "F you, you're not coming to my house"? At that point, do I not talk to the FBI as well? If they show up with a subpoena?
Hold on a second.
Well, no, I need you to answer that one. Because we know that the breathalyzer one was dumb. If they've got probable cause to investigate your car, that's dumb. So number two, if the FBI shows up at your house with a subpoena, can you turn the FBI away?
You can and should tell a cop, I refuse to blow.
We're not at,
you can and should.
Really?
You're starting on something on a false premise, and I'll tell you something. One of the best DUI attorneys. There's actually a guy online called DUI Attorney whose catchphrase is, "If you blow, to jail you go." So you're starting with a false premise here that there's an automatic assumption that you have to sit there and do whatever it is police ask you to do simply because they asked you to do it, and you're mistaken. You're unintentionally. I don't think it's at all intentionally, but you are unintentionally misleading your audience about this. Okay? Because you do not have to blow if you get pulled over, and you do not have to answer questions or sit there justifying and saying,
that is correct.
I declassified them. Yep. You don't have to say that.
That is correct. You don't have to. You might just auto lose your license and end up getting convicted anyway if they make you blow at the station, which at some point I believe you have to. Or they do a blood draw.
Okay.
However,
that's a different stage.
Number one, yeah, that's the stage after you've lost your license for refusing a breathalyzer license.
You do not lose a license for refusing a breathalyzer. That's not true.
In some states, you don't think you won't lose your license for refusing a breathalyzer? Correct.
You can say, I'll go. You can offer. You'll say, look, you want to take me to the station and take blood tests? I'll do that. But I'm refusing to blow. Yes, definitely. I'll tell you right now, I know several DUI attorneys. I've never practiced DUI defense. So I'm telling you, based on what I've heard from several DUI attorneys, there's no legal obligation to blow.
In Florida, while you technically can refuse to take a breathalyzer test when requested by a law enforcement officer during a DUI stop, doing so comes with significant legal consequences. This is due to Florida's implied consent law, which you automatically agree to by holding a Florida driver's license. Here's what you need to know. 1, immediate license suspension. Refusing a breathalyzer test leads to an automatic administrative suspension of your driver's license for a first refusal. The suspension is for 1 year. For subsequent refusals, it extends to 18 months.
Okay.
Remember, driving is a privilege. It's not your Second Amendment right. There are implied consent laws if you have a driver's license. Okay, just making sure we're
understanding. That's fair.
Okay, so that's fair. Kicking that out, number one. Okay, number two. If the FBI, re-asking this again, if the FBI is asking Donald Trump for these classified documents, and Donald Trump has the right to have them, what is the answer for why he didn't just say these are declassified? It's fine. Why wouldn't he just say that?
I don't know that he knows that they're legally declassified. A, and B, he has a Fifth Amendment right.
Hold on. If he doesn't know, if he doesn't know, then wouldn't that make him breaking the law? Because now he's taken stuff that he knows belongs in a classified area, and he doesn't know if he can declassify them. How can he psychically do something that he doesn't know about?
Oh, it's very simple. Like I said, it's a verbal act.
But you just said you didn't know. If it was a verbal act, if he verbalized it, then why would he tell the FBI, hey, I verbalized this. When I was walking out, I said Avada Kedavra or whatever. I cast a spell, and now these documents are all unclassified.
No, what I'm saying is, I didn't say he had to say words. I said he could blink. And I'll tell you something else. Arguably, he does not need to even think I'm declassifying it. It's just what happens. The same way if you drop an egg out a window, you don't need to say I'm smashing this egg. It just smashes. It's just what happens as a matter of law. This is a theory that nobody has ever tested yet, which is actually it's very consistent with what we understand about the rights, privileges, and powers of a president. Because his powers, when it comes to the executive agency, are plenary. That means he can do whatever. He's literally like the king in this area. So as much as if a king says, I declassify it, or if a king does something that makes it clear he is declassifying it, if he doesn't say I'm declassifying these documents, but instead he walked up to you in Central Park and handed them to you, I think it's a very fair legal argument to say, you know what, they've just been declassified. That's what and even if he's not thinking he's doing it, even if he doesn't realize it, even if he doesn't realize that the action is itself declassifying it, that doesn't mean it's not declassified. That's the point.
Do you think, does your entire argument then change if the car that takes the documents to his house happens like 1 day after he's out of office?
100%.
Okay. Yes. And then the second part, because you said it's up to a judge or jury. So if a judge or jury decides, no, the president can't just walk out of any place he wants at any point in time with any document and it's magically declassified. If a judge or jury...
That's a question, not a jury question. That's a judge. It's a judge.
So if a judge or jury rules against your opinion here, you would say, oh, I guess Trump did break the law?
I mean, it probably would be appealed up the chain as to whether or not that's considered declassification. But like I said, this is something that has never been legally determined. So the Supreme Court might decide to take it up. They might decide they don't want to take it up. So it could be that it'll be the Florida, or it'll be some Florida. It'll be like it'll be the 11th Circuit, which is going to sit there and ultimately decide as to whether or not that is an accurate reflection of the law. And at that point, whether SCOTUS takes it up or not, I don't know. They may not.
Okay.
So, but I'm saying it's something no lawyer knows, no American knows this because it's never been decided by any court.
I agree with you there because nobody's ever dealt with a president this retarded and incompetent and evil. I do agree with you there, because again, like, to take what I imagine, you're probably a decent guy, an ordinary, like, normal, well-functioning, morally upstanding human being. I assume you are, to be unironically making this argument that any executive can walk out of the Oval Office and every single document he has on him becomes magically, instantaneously declassified forever without him communicating that to another soul. That is such an on its face, obviously absurd. That is such an obviously stupid and absurd. Why is it that every single president that left the White House, you said earlier, Obama had millions of documents. Well, why didn't you just keep them? Why didn't Obama say, "F you, I'm holding on to this"? Why would you come and take any of this shit? Why didn't Obama, Bush, Clinton? Why didn't? What?
They had to make a new library because he's like, I'm not moving these. I'm keeping them here in Chicago.
I don't believe you. Show me that. What is? Point me to an article. Point me to. Hold on. Wait, before we look at this up, let me understand your claim. You're saying that the National Records of Archives, the Secret Service, whoever the FBI, they said, Obama, you've got classified stuff. And Obama said, I got it, but I'm not letting go of it, motherfucker. So fuck you. And they were like, oh, well, shit. Like, what?
No, the nature of the conversation didn't happen that way. No one talks to Obama that way. No one in D.C. is talking to Obama that way. But they were like, hey, we want these records. And he was like, I'm not going to. So, but then the question is, so now what? That's when it comes to Trump, what ended up happening, and this is I started touching on this earlier. The reason Trump could be in trouble is because when that happened initially, they took it a step further and they said, we're going to get a congressional order that's directing you that you have to turn over these records. Now the question is he obligated to comply with this congressional order?
Okay, hold on. Before we ride on to the rest of the fantasy, okay, because I'm trying to look this up because I've heard this conspiracy before, but every time I look it up, it seems dumb. So maybe you can point me to something more concrete, okay? So we have claim. Former President Barack Obama took 30 million documents, many of them classified, to Chicago upon leaving the White House. Now, the Associated Press, okay, liberal media, says that Obama administration records are exclusively held and maintained by the National Archives and Records Administration, the federal agency confirmed on Friday. Millions of unclassified documents were transferred. Neither Obama's personal foundation nor the facility set to house his presidential memorabilia have control over those papers. So I don't know wherever it is, but the federal government is what controls those files.
You want me to actually? I read like a 40-page article about this. Roughly a year ago when these charges first came out about what happened with Obama's records.
These records were given to NARA in 2017 upon the end of Obama's term, and they remain in NARA's sole custody in accordance with federal law. Some 30 million documents were moved to a NARA-operated facility in the Chicago area, as the agency explained. What?
There you go. That didn't exist. That didn't exist when he left office. They created a new NARA office to accommodate him.
What are you talking? What is illegal here?
What I'm saying is that when they butt heads and they were arguing about like, hey, do you have to these records back or not?
Show that. Show me that. Show me that. Show me where Obama argued. No. Show me where Obama argued about returning the documents.
Well, I'm sitting here trying to find it for you.
Then we'll wait for it. Because what I understand is once they said, hey, we need those, and Obama said, okay, I can turn them over. Whether they build a new federal facility or whatever, the only thing that matters is those documents are transferred back to the federal government, and then the federal government houses those documents. Them making a new place in Chicago or whatever doesn't matter, unless you're saying like Obama has like access to this classified material that he's not supposed to have access to. I would ask
you, from a moral perspective, why do you think that's important from a moral perspective?
Because you're doing anything you can to bail out the obviously morally reprehensible behavior of the guy that tried to destroy our fucking country for some weird reason. And I guess now we're looking at what about Obama because Hillary Clinton's emails aren't enough? I don't even know what the crime is here. Here's a question. Here's a question for you, okay? Prima facie, what is the crime that Obama has committed here?
He hasn't.
Then why are you even bringing this up?
I was bringing this up because I was saying to the extent that anyone, because I presented the whole argument that I said when he takes documents, as soon as he took them with him, they became declassified.
Why are you repeating this? Taking documents is not illegal. We agreed on this, didn't we?
Someone who disagrees with me and thinks it's not declassified, thinks it's still classified.
Whether or not you take a classified document has no bearing on the legality. It's the intent. We already talked about this. That's specified in every single United States criminal code about maintaining classified information. It's whether it's intentionally taken. I just want to see something that says that Obama was refusing to cooperate or was refusing to give them back, because that would show that he intentionally was storing classified material in an area where it wasn't supposed to be stored.
There was never a demand that was issued to him in the nature that was issued to Trump. If that's what you're looking for me to say, that I'll definitely agree.
I agree.
There's never a similar level. Request.
Trump got a demand that was finger painted by a kindergarten teacher. They gave him over a year to comply with the request because first the first request wasn't a subpoena. I don't even think the first request came from the FBI. Pretty sure the first request just came from NARA. Was it not? They said, hey, you might have some shit. Yeah, which, by the way, that same request, my understanding, I could be wrong, okay, because I don't have an article on this. We could look it up. I could be wrong. My understanding is that is incredibly standard, that when the president leaves the White House, because one, a lot of documents can get mixed in with shit, and two, stuff can become retroactively classified. That's very common as well. And it's really common that when a president leaves the White House, sometimes NARA makes a request, hey, we think you got some shit that might be classified now, and then they go through it, and then they take what they need. That's not uncommon at all. And that same request made of Donald Trump is also not uncommon. If they would have gone down to...
No, I just want to make sure I understand. So, I want to just think this through with you for a second. Okay, when we're talking about what's happening with this classification, let's just both breathe. Let's breathe. Okay, breathe with me, Stephen. Okay. Let's pause because you mentioned earlier that you thought this whole thing was immoral, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, so when we're talking about the immorality here, can you just zero in on what is making it immoral? Is it the fact that he's saying...
Wait, I can tell you. What makes it immoral is, okay, so if we believe that material is classified because the exposure of that classified material to the public or in the hands of enemies could threaten the state in some way, depending on the level of classification. If we believe that's true, which I generally do believe that's true, that means that classified material should be stored in a place that is being safeguarded so that information doesn't leak. If it's the case that somebody is knowingly taking that information out of that area, he is exposing the country to unnecessary risk. That's the immorality. Okay. Yes.
And that sounds immoral to me too.
Okay.
That sounds immoral to me too. I agree with you. That exposing us to risk is, these are the people you're supposed to be representing, and now you're exposing them to risk. That's to me sounds patently immoral.
Yeah.
Like you're betraying the very people who put you in office.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm totally on board with you as far as on the morality of that. What I want to be clear is, because one of the arguments I've heard as far as on the immorality that you did not say, but I've heard frequently, is that now he has access to records he's not supposed to have.
Don't care. I didn't make that argument. It's a dumb argument. I don't care. Don't
even care. And by the way, I just want to point out, it's not just a dumb argument. It's legally stupid because every president has a right to go back and visit their own records from when they were in office.
First of all, I don't even know if that's true. I'm pretty sure you...
That's the Presidential Record. The Presidential Records Act says this expressly. The Presidential Records Act. I don't make stuff up, Stephen. I'm telling you, I spent a considerable amount of time researching the law of this, but I haven't looked at it in the last 6 months. So I have I feel like less knowledge than I should have to be very detailed here, but a lot more knowledge than I had about this.
Lawgic, I have a question for you. Is it your position
Who am I talking to? Who's talking?
Pisco. How you doing? I'm just here to lower the intensity a little bit. How you doing? I have a question. Is it your position that the Presidential Records Act lets presidents own and possess their old records, or would you agree that the Presidential Records Act makes all presidential records the property of the United States?
The Presidential Records Act, as I recall, directly says that they revert to the property of the United States.
Right. So all the presidential records, they do belong to the United States, don't they?
Yeah, because I'm reading here on this Presidential Records Act, I don't see anything here that says that any president into perpetuity can access any and all records related that are classified into perpetuity about them?
Related to their administration.
So access is different than ownership. I mean, he can't, those records belong to us.
That is what the Presidential Records Act, and I think this came up after Nixon. I think it was after Nixon and his whole fight that they basically ended up saying we need to sort of set clear here who owns these records after an administration is complete.
Yeah, it would almost be like the president. Do you think Trump should be able to take back the desk and the chairs and the art? I don't think we would. Those records, they
that's something that happens too. By the way, I mean that's something that happens too.
But come on, those records are just as much property of the United States as.
Well, I don't know about that. You see, and here's where I would just pragmatically say that argument doesn't really make much sense in 2023 because all of these laws were written long before everything was stored in the cloud. Long before, it's not a matter that it used to be there's one document that's printed up, and that's the document that exists on the planet.
They might be able to make
photocopies of it, but there's one original, and it's like and being able to reproduce it or transmit it to someone else was a big deal. And that's not the case as to what we're living in now. So it's not as if Trump has these records, and imagine he doesn't have the physical paper. No one cares about the value of the physical paper itself. Imagine instead of having, he had files on a hard drive, which was basically storing everything there.
I think we care about both. I think that part of the rationale for protecting national defense information is to keep track of where it is and keep track of where every copy of it is, which is why there's such strict rules, I'm sure, about like how, can you bring a flash drive into the SCIF or whatever?
I agree with you, by the way, that from a moral perspective, I don't care if we're talking about Trump or we're talking about Biden, we're talking about Obama. I agree with you that from a moral
perspective too. I mean,
the issue that Destiny brought up, and from a legal perspective, it makes sense that the law tends to try to track morality. So, from a legal and moral perspective, it does make sense to say that if something is classified information, that it's classified, we assume it's classified for a reason, even though 99% of stuff probably that's classified doesn't need to be, but there's certainly some stuff that really must be classified. So it's safe to say that classified information, you and I and every American would agree, is not stuff that we'd be like, hey, you know what, we want enemies of the state to be able to access this because you're sloppy in how you're maintaining them. I'm on the same page, and I don't care whether the person who's sloppy is Joe Biden by storing them in his garage or Donald Trump by storing them in his bathroom. Okay? I'm on the same page.
So the only question is whether they were declassified, right? That's the only question.
That is the key question to my mind.
Okay.
That is the key question.
What do you make of the fact that Trump is on tape saying these are still classified, buddy?
No.
You've heard the record of him.
That tape is actually, it's pretty funny that you and Stephen both brought that up. Because that tape, if you actually are watching the interview, that tape, it's not that he's not showing her anything. What he's referencing, it's a newspaper article, or from what I recall, and I haven't looked at this in the last 6 months. So I'm telling you the best of my recollection that when I actually broke this down, I started laughing as to how Jack Smith even brought up this thing, and he brought it up so that people like you will use it in an argument against people like me. Because if you actually examine the situation, it's a joke. What happened, it's not like he's holding these classified documents and said, yeah, we had this is the plan. Oh yeah, this is where I'm gonna and
so to be clear, in the indictment, it literally says on these statements of facts, one of the there are two different parts. One section B is in August or September of 2021 at the Bedminster Club, Trump showed a representative of his political action committee who did not possess a security clearance a classified map related to a military operation and told the representative that he should not be showing it to the representative and that the representative should not get too close. You think that's just fake? Jack Smith made this up, I guess, or?
I'd have to see that.
I think Lawgic. Wait, careful, hold on, wait. I didn't want this to become like a whole 3-on-1 fest. Yeah. Well, we're not. I'm going to pop out in just a second. Hang on. I just want to make 2 points here. Wait a minute. I just want to make 2 points here. Number one, Stephen, eventually you're going to have to address whether or not the documents are classified is actually immaterial to the indictment. He's not being charged with 31 counts of willful retention of classified documents, but willful retention of national defense information. So you could almost make the argument that even if he declassified the documents, it has nothing to do with the indictment, number one. Number two, the Presidential Records Act it has nothing to do with his presidential daily brief or national defense documents. His own attorney, Bill Barr, said, in no universe, that's a direct quote, in no universe are those things the personal property of Donald J. Trump. So the Presidential Records Act is immaterial as well. Those are the 2 points I wanted to mention, and I'll off.
Wait, just real quick. A.G. Barr was never his attorney. He's the Attorney General of the United States.
It's not his attorney. Yeah. And there's a lot of evidence that.
No, I said his personal attorney general. I'm sorry, his attorney general.
His attorney general. We got it. Yeah, his attorney general. Okay, thank you.
I just think Lawgic. I think that your mental declassification theory is a little sus. Is that fair? I mean,
it's not sus. And it's not sus. And this is what I hate. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm like so over conservatives. Okay. Here's what I hate. I hate them pretending that if Biden or Hillary had done anything like this, these guys wouldn't be running around with AR-14s in the street saying that like the republic is ending. Like, this is a standard. This on its face, this whole thing is so unbelievably absurd that if any Democrat had done anything even remotely similar to this, you guys would be losing your fucking. And I hate pretending otherwise.
Stephen, I'll give you evidence that it's not the case. At least with respect to me, I'll give you evidence that's not the case. I don't want them trying to impeach Biden.
No, shut up. I don't care. Hold on. Obviously, no. Hold on. You don't get any credit right now for saying, I don't care if they enforce any laws when you support the most law-breaking president in the history of the fucking United States. You don't get credit for that. I don't give you any credit for that. I don't give a. So if you're going to sit here and tell me, oh, well, if they don't want to enforce any of the laws or impeach anybody ever again, well, I'm actually fair. You think you get points for that? No, of course not. What the fuck?
Oh, you just said that the shoe was on the other foot, that we would be screaming, go after Hillary, go after Biden. And I just said, here's the situation where the shoe's on the other foot, and I'm not saying that.
I'm saying it. I'm saying before the Trump stuff. Now that Trump is breaking every norm, every regulation, now you might be like, oh, well, actually, presidents do this. Well, now it would be okay. Sure, after Trump, but prior to this, no shot.
Is there any evidence? Is there any evidence that Trump engaged in influence peddling? No, there is.
He's not being charged with that. Hold on, I'm sorry. Was there any evidence that Hillary Clinton engaged in influence peddling? Now, I'm curious. No. If I were to go through here, I'm curious. I'm so curious. I'm curious. Wait. No, I'm curious. If I were to go through your tweets or your public statements relating to Hillary Clinton's email server, since apparently now we don't care about classified information and 99% of it doesn't matter anyway, were you incensed over Hillary Clinton's storage of classified information, maybe on a private server? Did you care about that at all?
I thought that was gross. Yeah.
Why?
I thought that was wrong. You wouldn't find me on social media because I wasn't on social media.
Well, wait. Why was Hillary Clinton wrong to do that?
But I thought that she's an acting Secretary of State. She doesn't have the authority to declassify anything. And here she is exposing everything. She doesn't even know what she's exposing because it's coming into her, and it could be. And she's leaving it. She's leaving the post box on the front steps, basically saying anyone can come and look at this.
Hold on, wait. She was the Secretary of State. Couldn't she just asked Obama to declassify it and she'd be safe? She'd be good. You'd agree with it then, right? Couldn't she just say, wait, hold on, Obama declassified? And Obama goes, yeah, actually, I did.
Yeah. Would you ever accept if he said, Obama said, don't worry, I mentally declassified everything that Hillary had on her server. Don't worry about that. Would you ever accept that argument?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking retarded. Of course you would, because it's just a stupid argument to make.
No, it's not, because she doesn't even know what's coming in. It's an email.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry. Donald Trump knows what's in every single one of those boxes?
I would assume that he chose boxes A, B, C, J, and F.
You think Donald Trump knew what was in all of the boxes that were sitting? Oh, my God.
That's criminal intent, then. I mean, if he's aware of everything that's in there, then he can't say that.
I think he has a general idea. Likely that it's highly likely that he knows that this box is containing information related to Operation Baghdad, and this one's related to Operation Snowcap and things of that nature. That's likely.
I agree. I think he knows about it too, but that's the problem. That's the pickle he's in, right? He can't do both of these arguments. He can't say, I didn't know it was in there.
Well, no, he's saying he can know that they were in there because he declassified all of it psychically.
That's what I mean. Like, it's either he wasn't aware what's in there and therefore he doesn't have the criminal intent. That Hillary's argument, which was backed up by Comey's investigation, is she never knew that it was classified because none of them had like the big classification markings except for the three like paragraph headers. That was her argument, but Trump can't make that argument and also
we don't even know
classification
that. We have no idea what was accessed, but we don't even know what came into her because she deleted it all.
Well, no, she didn't delete everything.
33,000 emails. But 33,000 emails. I mean, come on.
So
what the hell? So we have no idea. We have no idea what she exposed Americans to.
Why wouldn't you accept the argument that Obama mentally declassified?
You're comparing that. You guys are comparing that and saying, well, why would you be upset about Hillary doing that? And you're comparing that to some box about Operation Snowcap that's sitting in a Mar-a-Lago bathroom.
We're consistent. I think we're consistent. If there was evidence that Hillary Clinton was aware that there was classified information on her servers, I think both and contemporaneously, I was in favor of the investigation of Hillary Clinton for this.
What email are you
going to
get? Pisco, what email are you going to get? What email are you going to, what is the next subject line of the next email you're going to receive? You don't know because you're not Nostradamus.
That's one of the problems. That's one of the problems.
Let me finish my point. Neither is Hillary. So she basically has, instead of having a secure server, she actually enables enemies of the state to access emails before she even opens them. And you're telling me, while she's sitting as the Secretary of State, and you're telling me, that's the exact same thing as some stupid box of documents sitting in a bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, I think that you're not arguing in good faith.
Hold on, wait. So wait. Okay, wait. So then to be clear, you're telling me that the documents at Mar-a-Lago were more secure when, by the way, the indictments, I believe, allege that these were stored sometimes in public areas that were accessible to anybody wandering through Mar-a-Lago. Do you think those documents are more secure than the documents on Hillary Clinton's server? That has never been shown to have been penetrated by anybody at any point in time, ever, by any forensic person, not by WikiLeaks, not by anybody.
Mar-a-Lago hasn't been shown to be penetrated by any person either. Any 16-year-old hacker could theoretically get into her stuff, and we know.
Hold on. No, wait. Mar-a-Lago, my understanding, and I could be wrong, my understanding is for Mar-a-Lago, those documents sometimes were stored in public areas where random people could just walk by.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like he thought they were declassified, right?
Maybe.
Kind of sounds like that.
Wait, but hold on. But if he thought,
that.
if he thought that, then when the FBI said, "Hey, you've got classified information,"
he has no duty to tell the FBI, Jack, because he could basically tell the FBI,
"You are you're dead wrong. He does not have the authority. That's why he doesn't have the authority. Not only are you wrong,
he does not have the authority to lie to them. He's not the authority to lie to them, but he has every authority to basically keep his mouth zipped.
That's fine. Nobody agrees. The legal system disagrees with you because they gave the FBI a subpoena to raid his facility to retrieve those documents. So you go take it up with the judge, I guess." So you're just wrong.
I'll tell you why. No, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. It's because they allege that he lied to them. And
no, it doesn't matter. No, hold on. It's not different. It's not different. It doesn't matter if he lied or not. He could say, "Oh yeah, I have the documents. They're here." What matters is he didn't turn it over. That's why the subpoena was issued.
It was for both. It was for crime. If you look at the warrant, when they actually issued the warrant, it was for things that relate to the crime of obstruction and for the additional documents that they thought he had, and they were right that he had them. He had additional documents he hadn't turned over, and we know that because he ordered his minions to move specific boxes around with specific information in them. I mean, but it was both. The warrant was for both.
That is according to the. If you believe the indictment, then that's what the indictment alleges. That is what
you're saying that even for legal sufficiency matter, like even if it's true, even if the indictment alleges only true things, you still think Trump is innocent, right?
Well, what I said is
a legal matter.
I said he has a potential hang-up because I mentioned this to Destiny a while ago. That I said that to the extent he's keeping documents that are confidential and telling basically whoever's requesting, whether it's the FBI or NARA or anyone, F you. That's okay. When it comes to a subpoena, if he lied on a subpoena and he claimed, "I don't have any documents that are stamped classified," and that is not true, that is technically
can I ask a question?
Illegal, and
you agree
that's more of a problem.
You agree that these are presidential records, right? What he has in his possession, and you think, and that means that by definition,
I don't know. I don't know that they are, and this is something that's an interesting legal point, which I'd forgotten about that whole legal argument.
No, this can't be right. Lawgic. They can't both be.
I appreciate you resurrecting that. I appreciate you resurrecting that defense for him. Thank you, Pisco.
That's not a defense. Wait. They can't be personal and previously classified. Do you understand that?
I'll agree with you on that. I'll agree with you that it doesn't.
Then how can they not be presidential records?
It doesn't make sense. No, I'm saying I don't know that all these records were classified.
Well, at least some of them were presidential records.
Yeah, you're right.
So you can't just tell NARA to f*** off. Those records belong to NARA. Can I tell you to f*** off if I steal your golf club and I keep it and you're like, "Hey, can I have that back, dude?" And I'm like, no. But they're not his.
So what's the remedy for NARA in that situation?
Your house gets raided. Eventually they'll subpoena you. The police officers will show up and they'll take your shit. What do you mean?
What I'm saying is, at that moment, he hasn't. If NARA makes a request and he says no, is that a civil matter or a criminal matter?
It's probably not even anything. That's why they gave him a year to fucking respond.
That's what.
Unless
That's
there's
what
an intentional. Unless there's criminal intent.
And we saw with the Clinton socks case, right? Sock drawer case.
But this is a really easy thing. Like suppose that Trump just straight up steals $1 billion from the Treasury, and Treasury's like, dude, can we have that back? And he's like, no, dude. I mean, you would agree that the Treasury money is the property of the United States government, and so is like the records. He can't just hold on to it. And what you're saying, I think what you're saying is that the former president is immune from stealing from the government, and that seems weird. That can't be right.
When you say stealing from the government, to me, the notion of him stealing, I mean, were the Clintons immune to prosecution for stealing curtains from the 1600 Pennsylvania?
No. Hang on.
No, they weren't.
I don't think they are.
No. Were they prosecuted? No. So then the question comes down.
Stop. Wait. But was there a request for the curtains back that they refused?
I don't recall. It's 25 years.
Wait,
So
I don't know. I don't know why you're saying I don't recall. Every single thing you're saying, you're missing every single part of the actual criminal act. This is like if we're in court and I'm accused of murdering, I'm accused of murdering my friend John, and then you're like, oh well, murdering John is bad. You're like, oh what? I can't go over to his house. And you're like, well, of course you can. Oh, okay. Well, I can't shout at him. Is that wrong? And I'm like, you're like, well, no, obviously you can shout. Oh, okay. So I can't leave afterwards? It's like, well, obviously we're talking about murdering him. Why do you keep, no, hold on. Because you're either, I'm sorry, Jesus Christ. I can't believe that this is, you're making this argument. No, hold on. I don't understand. Because you keep saying over and over and over again, you keep saying things that aren't a crime. You keep doing this thing. You're like, well, what if they took the curtains? That's not a crime. Trump taking the records, if he doesn't know that they're whatever, that's not a crime. You say, if nobody asked for them back. The problem that we're talking about, and you keep making all these stupid comparisons. The problem we're talking about is he was requested to return something. He didn't respond, and he knew that the material was not his.
I don't know. Maybe you went to the bathroom for 5 minutes and you missed that. Pisco just asked me, is he allowed to steal from the White House money? So I said, well, we saw someone stealing curtains.
I didn't miss anything. You made the comparison to the curtains, and the criminal aspect that I asked you was, did they request the curtains back, and did the Clintons refuse? Like you claimed, by the way, with Obama, that you haven't shown me evidence for, and it doesn't look like that ever happened, right? That's the criminal part. But you keep bringing up all the other things that aren't criminal parts. I don't know why.
But also not answering the question. Can you just steal from the government if you're the president?
Those are two different questions. And when I answer one, the other one starts screaming, I'm not answering them. I'm not answering.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You go 3-on-1, but don't start yelling at me that when I'm answering the other question.
You're right.
Okay, can you steal from the government?
No, you can't.
Okay, so when Donald Trump is being requested to give stuff back that he's taken from the government without permission, that some people call that stealing, is Trump obligated to return that, or can he say, F you?
He's got to give it back.
If it's not his, then he's legally obligated to give it back.
Okay, but we're now in a point, right, where you're acknowledging that some of these are mentally declassified documents. You've acknowledged that the most likely scenario is that he was aware of what he was mentally declassifying and bringing it back with him. And so he must be aware that these formerly classified, now declassified documents in your mind, they are not personal records, okay? I don't know what any definition of personal can't include documents that were once highly classified by the government. I think that's fair, right? Mm-hmm. So then, by your own logic, he is taking things that he has no authorization to take, and he can't tell NARA to go to hell when they ask him for it. That seems to be exactly what he did.
No, that's where we're having the disconnect. Okay. That's where we're having the disconnect. Because even if he's not allowed to take them, I don't think him telling NARA to go to hell now makes it a crime. That's my point. Even if he's not allowed to take it, when he does take something that he's not allowed to take. Now there's a dispute. Were you allowed to take these documents? Were you not allowed to take these documents? He says, I was allowed to take them. They say, no, they're ours. At what point is it becoming a crime? That's why I started here, Steve, because that's the whole key here. The question is, at what point is he doing something not wrong, but at what point is he breaking the law that is now punishable, but with prison time?
When he's been shown to intentionally take something that he did not declassify, that he knows he doesn't have the authority to hold on to, that's when it becomes a crime. He's stealing from the government, and he's violating any of the moving classified material stuff out of classified areas. And
that's not what the statute says. That's not what the statute says. What the statute says, There's a few statutes. There's one which talks about absconding with documents, meaning at the moment that you're taking them, you're not allowed to possess them. That's clearly not applicable here because he's taking them when he's president, and as president, he has authority to take any of these documents, right?
So could he?
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the actual
$1 billion from the Treasury on the day he's not
Which stat?
Take it with him.
Let me pull up. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, this is a real simple hypothetical. Do you think it's conceivable that the President of the United States could steal some shitload of money worth thing, the original Declaration of Independence? He takes, and he's a president, right? So he's in charge of the executive branch. He takes it to his house, and because he takes it on the 19th and not the 20th, there's no remedy for the government to get that shit back.
I think you're raising a red herring. It's an amusing and no, it's a red herring because that's not something which is a confidential document. That's something which has value based on.
We're just even talking about property, government property. You're not even.
Right, so I don't think a president has a right to. I don't think a president has a right to do that when they're sitting in office and to return it the next day.
I totally agree.
That's totally illegal, and I can promise you that any president who does this would never ever be prosecuted for it. And you know I'm right about that. If someone took the Declaration of Independence, my birthday, I would have had this hanging on my house. That no one would do anything to
Stop!
them.
You keep saying this. You keep saying no. You keep saying nobody would be prosecuted for this. Okay, and that's generally true because no president would fucking do this because it's obviously fucking stupid. Why would you do this? Only Trump was stupid enough to steal fucking shit and pretend. Yeah, what do you mean? Come on. Who else? That's why I asked for a comparison. Has another president tried to do this before? It's so fucking stupid. There's a lot of things that Trump has done that's like nobody normally gets prosecuted for because it's so fucking stupid.
I'm telling you this. When NARA asked Obama for the documents back, much as like when they asked Bush for any documents back, or when they asked when they asked for that, someone saying I'm not giving it to you, that's not a crime. That does not become a crime at that point. It's not a prosecutable crime at that point.
No, wait, hang on a second. We can.
If a properly, let me finish my point, and then you can respond.
I'm sorry.
If a properly issued subpoena now is executed, let's say, by Congress or a committee of Congress, and that is issued, at that point, now that potentially becomes a crime, which is only something he can be punished for if he's in the wrong and wrongfully retaining it. And I would say there's a good chance he probably is wrongfully retaining it. That is the point that I'm making here. That at that point, that's when it becomes a crime.
So wait, just 1 second. You think that if a prosecutor subpoenas something that belongs to you, that if it actually belongs to you, you can refuse them?
If they have no basis to have, if they subpoena your wedding ring from you, and they have no basis at all to subpoena your wedding ring, there's no probable cause of a crime or anything of that nature. So you tell me on what basis would
wait, hold on. Wait. How can you say that there's no probable cause or whatever? Wouldn't this argument already have to have been made in front of a judge to get the subpoena issued?
Yeah, but that's not true. That's not true. A subpoena can be issued by Congress. It's not made in front of a judge. A subpoena can be issued by an attorney. This is outside the purview of a judge. There are many ways that a subpoena could be issued that has absolutely nothing to do with...
They just subpoenaed a bunch of Hunter Biden's records and bank records and stuff in the congressional investigation into the Biden family, the crime family.
There's no court there. It's just it's a committee which is subpoenaing.
Hold on. Wait. Who issued... Wait. I'm sorry. Hold on. I could be wrong. Okay. I thought that the subpoenas. I thought that the subpoenas came from like the fucking DOJ and the FBI served them for the Donald Trump stuff.
In this case, yes.
I think it was a congressional committee that issued it.
The subpoena. Whoa! Hold on. Wait. Just think about what you're saying. You think a congressional committee authored a subpoena to get an ex-president's residence broken into?
No, sorry.
No. Different things. No, those are two different things. Right? Not the radar Mar-a-Lago, the initial demand for documents. These are two different things.
It was a grand jury subpoena. This was a grand jury.
Is that what it was? It was a grand jury? Okay. So that is court oversight when it's a grand jury subpoena.
Yeah, no. But my only point, Lawgic, is, okay, you can subpoena things of people without the government owning it, right? Like I could subpoena your card drive if there's a good basis to believe there's a crime there. I don't even know necessarily that standard needs to be shown. But like we can subpoena stuff, and you couldn't be like, well, I actually own this, and the government can respond. We just want to look at it.
So imagine you're a district attorney, okay, and you subpoena something from me, and you say that I know belongs to me, okay, and you subpoena, you say turn this thing over to me. and I say I refuse to turn it over to you. What happens at that point? Am I breaking the law, or does he have to get further court order directing me to turn it over in order for me to be doing something that is at that point a crime? I'm not a criminal defense lawyer, so
What's
I can't
the difference? Isn't a subpoena a court order to turn something over? If you refuse a subpoena, at that point
no, it's not. It's not. That's the point. That's the legal. That's where I think we're having the disconnect here, Stephen. But many subpoenas can be issued. A subpoena. I can issue a subpoena. I'm an attorney. I don't need to go to courts. As an attorney, I can issue a subpoena.
No, but
wait, hold on, wait. I'm sorry, hold on, wait. I need to understand this. I'm sorry. Okay, maybe I don't know what the a subpoena is. I thought a subpoena, at least for court, I thought a subpoena is some investigator or some person goes to a judge and they say, we've got reason to believe that we want to get this particular thing from this person or investigate this particular thing. Okay, so if somebody subpoenas for information or whatever, do they get a warrant after the subpoena then, or?
Yeah, because what happens is this: a warrant is basically like, I'm not asking you to give it to me; I'm taking it from you. So, in order to get a warrant, that's not something that any judge any attorney can sign off on.
Wait, then why would Then why? I don't know. I'm just asking simple questions. Why would anybody subpoena anything if there's no legal threat? Why wouldn't they just ask for stuff?
No, there is a force of law. You'd be in contempt if you try to obstruct a subpoena. You be in contempt. It's a criminal offense.
It's a process to start someone being held in contempt. The standard that happens 99% of the time is if someone issues a subpoena. It might be different to congressional subpoena. That could be different. That could be a little bit stronger.
No, we're not even talking about that. I just figure about an ordinary fucking subpoena. You're telling me that there's no difference between a subpoena and a strongly worded email?
No, the difference is that once someone fails to comply with my subpoena, I can use that as evidence of the refusal to turn it over, and then that would be far stronger getting a court to demand that they turn it over, and then it becomes an order of the court. So I, as an officer of the court, can issue a subpoena. If I issue a subpoena and someone says, "F you, I'm not complying with this," there's nothing I can do until I go to court and get a court to help me out.
Okay, well, assume they didn't raise any problems with the subpoena. Trump didn't raise any legal deficiencies in the subpoena when he received it. He purported to comply with it. So I don't really. I agree that there can be some legal objections to subpoenas, but you work those out in court, or you'll go to court to try to deal them out. Trump did not dispute the legal sufficiency of the subpoena. He signed or caused another person to sign a declaration that he had complied with it.
I believe that's correct. I don't
want to like harp on this. I'm sorry. A cease and desist is like a random fucking letter that you email to somebody that carries no legal weight.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If you ignore it, you're gonna.
It's not zero legal weight. It has a tiny bit of legal weight, and the formality of it puts the person on notice that you're taking a position that this person is doing something that is violative of law. So they can't later say, "I didn't know I was doing anything wrong."
Sure, it puts somebody. It puts somebody on notice. That's it, basically. Right. But
essentially, yeah.
Yeah. My understanding is that for a subpoena, if you fail to respond to a subpoena, if they could get the subpoena, then the next step is going to be a warrant. Is that not true?
No. That's
so
not
you can
true.
issue some subpoenas that are toothless, that have nothing behind them?
No, normally after a subpoena, if someone fails to comply with a subpoena, what would happen is that they would go and get a court order. And if a court will frequently give a court order and say, okay, instead you had 30 days to turn something over under the subpoena, you failed to turn it over in time, you rejected, you refused to do it, and you never objected to the subpoena itself. So now there's a court order which is directing you that you damn well better comply with what's requested in that subpoena.
That's not an issue here. I mean, there was a valid grand jury subpoena here. It wasn't contested for legal deficiencies. Trump, purported to reply with it and actually said that he complied with it fully, which he didn't. And so there can't be a question here that he took government property knowingly. And
we just need to do law school. Maybe we should do this. So if you ignore a subpoena, if you get a subpoena, you can ignore it, and then the next is just a court order? Or is it you being held in contempt? My understanding is you can't just ignore a subpoena. That if you get a subpoena, you just ignore it. It's not like it's like, okay, well, then can you please just show up to, then to court afterwards?
Directed his attorneys to do that. So I'm not going to sit here saying, but I would say, please don't bring that up.
I feel like you're giving the benefit of the doubt. You would never be like, well, Hillary caused one of her lawyers to do it, and so she's scot-free. I mean, the fact that you even bring it up, I think that's a little stuff. Come on.
Okay, also, listen, I love you guys. Wait, real quick, Happy New Year's, and have fun fighting and shit, but Yeah, sorry. Listen.
You're out of here, Stephen?
Yeah, because I've got to go out to dinner with friends. Yeah, I love you guys. Listen, good logic. If you ever want to come in, listen, I scream a lot, but I'll scream at you and fight with you anytime you want. I love you, buddy, okay?
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. I enjoy these discussions. I'm not angry with you at all. I enjoy these discussions. I really do.
That's good.
So thank
Why are
you,
you so mad, Steve?
Because I hate these Trump defenders. I wish, Pisco, I wish that I could put somebody in VR and just like transfer any of these situations to like a Democrat and like watch them lose their minds. That like, oh, Biden walked out with 50 classified documents and, you know, has Russians coming in and out of his fucking thing, blah, blah. And he refused. Dude, can you imagine what they'd be saying if the FBI, if NARA gave Hillary Clinton like a year to return records being requested? Like, I can't believe you waited so long.
I don't think it was a year, by the way.
I'm pretty sure it was a year. Before the first request was made and any warrant was served? No, it was a month?
There was a couple of back and forths, and there was some compliance. They said it was inadequate compliance. Then they also said, "Here's the skip. We're restoring it. Do you have a problem with that?" This is what Trump's defense is. Do I know this is what happened? No, I wasn't there. I'm just telling you that what they say is that they told the other side, "Hey, this is where we're restoring it," and there was zero complaints about it until all of a sudden they were coming in there, raiding his house, saying, "Oh my God, it's unsecured." And if there was a problem with the way it was being secured, in that case, that they could have damn well said something. That's essentially that's what Trump is. That what actually happened? I don't know. Maybe Trump's full of crap. It's possible he's completely full of crap about that. I don't know. I'm simply telling you that is the story that they're putting out there. And if they're telling the truth, in that case, I think you can see that this entire charge is asinine.
Yeah, I agree that if I completely agree that if we lived in a completely and totally different factual universe, then everything would be horrible. Just like every single thing Trump claims.
You're assuming that it's true when he's assumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You're assuming all these facts in this indictment are true.
I explicitly asked you. So there are baseline questions that I asked coming into this. The first was if we believe that we should adhere to the Constitution. The second was, is the president ever above the law? And the third one is, can we broadly trust evidence provided by media or institutions with third-party sources of verification?
And indictment is not evidence. An indictment is not evidence.
I didn't say. I never said an indictment was evidence. That's why I said. That's why we started this conversation off with me saying, prima facie, do you think that he's guilty of anything? Assuming everything in the indictment is true, has a crime been committed? I gave you that at the very beginning. My understanding for the timeline publicly that everybody knows about is NARA requested those documents in May of 2021, and the subpoena wasn't issued until May of 2022. I don't even know when the raid happened after that, but he had over a year to respond to this.
Yeah, but the point is that NARA subpoena is relative. That's why we had this whole conversation about subpoenas. The NARA subpoena is relatively nothing. It's when the FBI gets involved, when there's something from a grand jury that gets involved, which I think
it was a NARA letter. It was a grand jury subpoena, and I haven't even heard Trump contest any of the facts. He's been doing all this.
No, what I'm saying is those are true. Those are two completely different things. I agree with you that he damn well better respond to something that's coming from a grand jury subpoena. That's a duty that's upon him. That you either object to the subpoena or you comply with the subpoena.
Word.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that at all. And if he failed to properly comply with the subpoena, or he lied in that subpoena, then in that case, yeah, I think there's something wrong with that. But at the same time, I think this is far closer to a parking ticket that's trumped up into a felony.
No way. No.
Yes, that you talked about earlier, because it's what is the crime now? The fixation of the crime is, well, you told the FBI something that wasn't true. Really? So what is the result of that? Does that mean that your life now is in jeopardy? Does that mean that some American in Nebraska, that his life is in jeopardy now? No. What it means is he basically lied to the police. Is it wrong? Is it illegal? Yes. Is it something that anyone, you or me, should be punished for? Yes. It's the sort of thing that I want to see any president get punished for, whether it's Trump or Obama or Biden. No, it's not. And the reason is because that's
presidents are above the law, because Trump's above the law?
No, they're not above the law. No. Later, brother. Ciao.
Okay, love you guys. I'm going to eat. Have a happy new year. Tomorrow, it's going to be a new year, guys. Okay, have fun, be careful, stay safe. I love you all very much, okay?